Welcome to BAM Teacher Tech. In this edition, we're going to talk about what RIT is and how it's used as a measure of growth. So now let's take our child to the doctor's office. One of the first things they're going to do at the checkup is they're going to measure the child's height. And since we live in the United States of America, that height is going to be measured in inches. And so this child in 5th grade, they might be 48 inches tall. And so all that is a measurement. And sometimes the doctor will say that they're in a certain percentile of height based off of the average 5th grader. And then 6th grade, when they're measured for their checkup, same child measured 52 inches tall. And the doctor will say that they're in a certain percentile of height based on all the 6th graders. And then in 7th grade, this child measured 52 inches. And once again, the doctor will give a percentile of growth based on the average 7th grader. Now let's kind of back up the train a little bit. And what happens if we were in a different country? So say in Canada, the same 5th grader is going to be measured now their height in centimeters. What would their height be in centimeters for 48 inches? Don't know? Well, actually, it's 122 centimeters. And you might go, I'm not comfortable with that number. That number doesn't make any sense to me. And all it is a measurement of growth using a different measuring tool. That's all it is. So the same 6th grader who was 52 inches would be, if they were measured in Canada or a different country using the metric system, would be 132 centimeters. So you can see that there's 10 centimeters of growth. And in 7th grade, the same child measured in centimeters now is 137 centimeters tall. And so all we're doing is we're using a different measuring tool to measure the same child. So in the state of Virginia, the one score that we have to look forward to is the Virginia SOL score. And so if we're taking a look at this 5th grader, we can say that they might have scored a 443 SOL score. So we know that this student is proficient in the Virginia SOL test that they took, whether that's reading or mathematics. So the same student in 6th grade scored a 432 on their SOL test, and in 7th grade scored a 435. And the difference between the growth assessment of the MAP test and the Virginia SOL is that in the Virginia SOL, we're measuring proficiency based on one grade level. We're not measuring growth, we're just measuring proficiency. So these scores aren't really growth scores, they're just proficiency scores. Just like our child's height is measured at the doctor's office, we now have an assessment that's going to measure growth over time for academics. And so this is what we use as our MAP test. And so in 5th grade, our child scored a 206 RIT score. And with this RIT score, there's actually a percentile range for all 5th graders who've taken this test. So just like the doctor gave a percentile for their growth, we now have a percentile of growth academically for reading as a 206. In 6th grade, the same student scored a 211 on the 211 RIT score on their MAP. And so once again, they're going to be within a certain percentile of growth, of academic growth in reading. And then the 7th grader, when they take the same assessment again, they're now at a 214 RIT score. And so just like the doctor pulled out the scale and said that your child is growing and they're in a certain percentile, we now have a score that's talking about percentile growth of academics based on reading. And the same thing can be true about mathematics. And so there's a MAP test for mathematics. And so the same child in 5th grade scored a 211 RIT score on their MAP test. And so they would be within a percentile range of all 5th graders. The 6th grader on the same MAP assessment then scored a 218 RIT score. And so they would be within a percentile range of all sixth graders. And so the same seventh grader taking this MAP test, same assessment, now scores a 223 RIT score. And so now we can compare growth over time with the same student. So the same student in fifth grade scored a 211 is now scored a 223. And so we can say that is positive growth over time academically.